Yeah, can we stand and pledge allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's see what I got here. Approval of the minutes for February's meeting. Is there any changes or corrections? No. Yeah? Okay, no?
I wasn't with them, but they look good to me, Bob.
Sounds good. Okay. First order of business is, let's see, public hearing for Jeffrey and Christine Dain, 979 Old Albany Post Road. And Mr. Thompson, right?
Yes, sir.
You're a representative. I got the authorization, so we're okay.
Perfect. We usually don't do this for fun.
Okay.
Good evening, Ann. Would the board like a presentation of the project?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Certainly. So Joseph Thompson, architect representing Jeffrey and Christine Dain. Brief history of the property. The Dains acquired it from the family. It's been in the family for close to 80 years, back in early 1990s, 1991, 1992. In 1997, those lots were merged. There were two pre-existing non-conforming lots, 2 and 2.3 acres into the current 4.3 acre parcel.
Okay,
And
so it used to be two separate buildings.
there was, yeah,
Okay.
two separate lots, and they were merged in
2 acres each.
1997.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So approximately almost 30 years ago now. And as the Dains have been stewards of the property, they've developed and enhanced and improved it. They find themselves at a point in life where they're planning for aging into the future. They'd like to construct an accessory dwelling unit. The reason we're before the board is that we're seeking relief on the scale of that unit. The code limits it to 800 square foot. And what they're requesting is a structure that is somewhat larger at 1,945 square feet. It's a single-story structure with a small mezzanine that would provide a loft area. Basically, it's a two-bedroom unit. What they're thinking about is the potential to have live-in aids in the future, and so that sort of drives the scale of the structures, that and the living spaces to properly accommodate. And so they've had this property again for quite some time. They've been at it for over 30 years. They love the property. They've enhanced it. They'd like to be able to stay there. This house would allow them to do that. The zoning variance itself, there's a number of criteria that we've evaluated as part of the variance request. The first is the character of the community. And so what we've tried to do is place this structure on the property in a place where it wouldn't be visible from the street. So in the package, there's street views of the property, which is a heavily wooded buffer. But even in the winter, the topography of the lot, the placement of the structure at the rear of the lot at a much lower elevation than the primary residence, it would not be visible from the street. The neighbors we've also had some outreach to, the owners did. In the packet, I believe there's 3 letters of support. One includes the directly adjacent neighbor.
Yes, there's two, let's see, how many letters I have here? 922, 965. There's 3 letters of, granting that, asking us to grant the variance.
They have a relationship
9
with those
from
neighbors.
965 Old Albany, 966, and 922.
Yeah. And 965 is the one directly adjacent. I believe it's on the northern side of the property. So that's the one property where in the wintertime this could be visible. They have a good relationship with these neighbors. They're happy to see the Danes stay. So they're in support of the variance. The property to the north is actually conservation property owned by the Audubon. So there's 2 properties flanking it on either side. One it wouldn't affect as it's protected, and the other that neighbor's in support. And for the broader community, again, very limited if no visual impact. And the scale of it's been managed. It's again predominantly designed as a single-story structure with a modest scale with geometry that breaks down the massing of it and tucked to the rear of the property. As far as alternatives that have been considered, that's one of the factors. While the structure could be planned at a smaller scale and that severity of the variance could be reduced if we're not able to accomplish some of the main primary programmatic elements, like the second bedroom and reasonable living spaces, the alternative would really actually be to build another primary residence on another lot. But that alternative, from an impact standpoint, I think would have a much greater significance as far as the impact's concerned.
What do you mean build another house with another lot?
A
Explain that to
single-family
me.
residence on a,
I'm sorry?
if this variance were to be denied,
Right.
if they were to pursue, having a home local to their current property, and have to find another property,
Buy another lot.
the impact would be significantly
Right.
greater as far as, clearing that lot, developing that lot, new driveways and such. And so this lot, the area where it's planned, it's currently cleared, so there's no disturbance of, we'll say, virgin land. There's already a driveway in place. So from an environmental impact and from impact to the community, it's fairly well managed because it's really just the footprint of the structure. Again, as opposed to a new building lot, which might include significant clearing.
Did you say that at the last meeting that it had its own septic and well?
It does, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it has its own septic and well. Hi there, yes. Okay,
You have the plans approved, is that what you're saying?
The septic has been designed by Beatty and Watson and approved by the county, which was a requirement before we could get to this stage.
But it's not in there yet?
It is not installed, no.
so it's got its own independent well and septic. So it's a very comfortable, looks like a house completely independent of the main house, right?
It is, aside
Like,
from connecting walkways.
right, yeah. Is it on the lot that used to be separate before they were merged?
It is.
It is.
The site plan.
Meaning if you hadn't separated, you could have put a lot, you could have built it, you wouldn't have to come here.
If we could rewind the clock and we
Yeah.
saw that far into the future, that's
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's a non-conforming lot, but that's
And
correct.
then you have to pay all those back taxes, though.
So that would be an alternative, as well as an application to subdivide, but I think that provides a more
You can't subdivide.
egregious variance, and it's not permitted, so.
Yeah, you can't subdivide it.
What are they doing with their main house then?
So the main house, the plan is for it to stay in the family. So sons have come of age, there's grandchildren now, and so that would allow them to stay on the property, have a good, close relationship to family, grandchildren. And so the
So-
plan is that it all stays in the family.
So they would all move in?
No, Jeffrey and Christine would move into the accessory dwelling unit.
And then what would happen to the main house?
The primary?
Yeah.
I believe the intent is one of the children would then move into it and occupy the main residence.
Okay, so just without that though, so if you were to age in place, what about the house? Could they not age in place in it? Like if their children and grandchildren lived in their own house, or, could they outfit their current house?
The disadvantage to that is it would have a lot of disturbance. So most of these spaces on the ground level are typical of a single-family home. They're living spaces, they're dining spaces. You'd have to claim some of that, convert it. There are some steps into that house. And so, it's not as conducive to adapting it. It wouldn't be, as successful as, let's say, a separate standalone structure where you could have an entrance that grade and remove steps, remove any barriers, if there's ever a need, for wheelchair access or anything like that.
It's just, installing building a two-bedroom, single-family home with its own septic system and septic field and water supply, I can't imagine that would be more cost-effective than adding some ramping and expanding a bathroom on the ground floor.
Overall investment, no. But I would say successive outcome and the ability to keep family close and connected on the property. In this case, the decision-making that for the property owner, that outweighs the cost if they're able to accomplish it.
Do you mind me asking how old the couple is that would be moving into the accessory unit?
Brian, do you know your parents' age?
My father was born in 1957, so that's,
I guess 68 years old, roughly. Yeah, so close to 70.
and then my mother was born in 64, so they're creeping up on about
So
70 years old.
they're 68 and 64?
It's actually 71 for your mother then. Okay.
Zoning code, one of the issues, the zoning code that you're seeking relief from is an 800 square foot accessory apartment. The reason that was passed by the town was because there were a lot of legal apartments in the town, okay? So they wanted to get them within code, okay? Now, the variances that we have given was like, somebody was building, let's say, over the garage or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Maybe over the garage it was 1,000 square feet, but we wouldn't expect them to chop 200 feet off a house or something like that. So those are the variances we have given. We've never given a variance like this, I'll be honest with you, okay, ever. Okay, this stands alone.
Okay.
All right, and my other concern is that it's a house. Really, I mean, you look, it's a beautiful drawing. I mean, you know, you got 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, you got a mud room, you got a pantry room, you got a kitchen. It's a gorgeous house, but it's a house. That's the problem. Now, if you had kept the 2 lots the way it was, you could easily just have put it on. I don't have to go over that again, what I'm saying. So now you're asking to put 2 houses on the same lot. You know, there is no property around there that has 2 houses on a lot. So that's a little bit of an issue that we have here. I got one question, too. I got the zoning code enforcement officer has it listed as, what is it? One excuse, 8,000 square feet. He's got it listed at 825, and you're an application, you have 1945 square feet. So what is it? Which one is it?
It is the 1945.
So you're asking
The
for
differential is the loft
Okay, right.
space.
So you're asking for 1945?
Correct.
9,000. That's, you know, like, that's 130, 140% over variance. You understand that? Okay. Are there any other questions for anybody?
I wanted to ask though, what's the current, so say you want to go to this neighborhood and build this house.
Sure.
What would be the minimum lot?
Minimum lot would be 5 acres.
5
That's my
acres.
understanding. Yep.
All right, so
It's
we're,
5 acre zoning.
and here we have 4.7?
4.3.
4.3 acres. So neither one of these houses individually could be built today on a lot this size, right?
If it was a
without
pre-existing
variance?
non-conforming, yes, but you couldn't, let's say, subdivide this as a separate lot at 4.3 acres without a variance. That's correct.
No, she's saying today.
It would not meet
It
the
would
5
not be
acre zone.
acceptable.
That's right.
He couldn't even build his house on it today, is what she's saying, because you need 5 acres to build.
If you were
one.
to subdivide a new piece of land, yes. Yeah, that's
If it's
correct.
already existing.
If it's
I'm
already
sorry?
existing and a
It's
buildable
already
lot,
existing
I'd-
non-conforming.
Right, years ago, when he bought it, he had the 2 acres. That was his opportunity to do it then.
if we had known.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
just, the reason I'm asking is because
I'm sorry?
it's just the decision was made at some point that the minimum lots for a single-family home in this area had to be 5 acres, and now we want to put 2 on less than 5 acres,
correct.
so,
I understand.
You know.
Correct. Any other questions? Anybody in the audience would like to speak to this? Anybody? No. Okay, what we do is we're going to go over what we call the 5 factors. Before I do that, I want to go in closed session with my counsel because I want to seek some legal advice. Okay? We shouldn't be long.
Thank you.
Discuss legal issues with counsel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'll move to come out of closed session.
Yeah. Sorry,
Make a motion to come out of closed session.
I second it?
Aye.
Okay, so this is still a public hearing, and if nobody else wants to speak in the audience, we're going to go over the 5 factors. Now, what the 5 factors is, you answer the questions. What the 5 factors is it helps us determine to grant the variance or not, you know, whether it should be granted or not.
Chair.
I'm sorry?
I said if I may, interject one other idea for the application before starting. So we reviewed with the client, one thing we might be able to offer to offset the overall developmental impact of the property. So right now, there's a barn that's adjacent to the structure that client would be willing to raise as part of this action, which could offset the developmental impact. So right now, this proposed accessory dwelling unit is about 1% of the overall property. The developmental coverage is significantly less than 10% allotted, it's at 3.8.
That's not the
But
problem, okay?
that's
I
not
mean,
it?
You know, you
Okay.
could have, if you did it with the barn, it would have been probably better. If you, let's say, okay, we want to put the apartment in a barn or something like that, which we've had people come and do. Okay, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. And one I know was with a barn, and I think she had 1,100 square feet or something like that. But I wasn't going to, you know, we granted a variance. I wasn't going to make her tear 300 square feet outside of a building. This is a building that doesn't exist. So this is a completely different thing. You can always, you know, let's go over the 5 factors. We'll do it this way. Number one, will an undesirable change be produced in the character of the neighborhood? Or will a detriment or nearby properties be created by granting the area variance? And your answer is here, no, the accessory dwelling unit is not anticipated to have a negative impact or to be out of character with the surrounding community that is planned to be located over 300 feet from the road and is a modest-scaled, single-family structure. Modest-scale, single-family structure
Single-story.
of almost 2,000 square feet, you know what I'm trying to say? So it's not, modest, I might not have used that word. And the visual impact from the road is far enough away from the road. The other thing is that the size of it is the issue, okay? Can the benefit sought be achieved by some method feasible to pursue other than the area variance? You have no. Well, that answer is yes. Because if you built an 800 square foot unit, let's say, you would have to be here.
Correct.
You just get building bids. So, you know, so you can achieve that by some other method. As required area variance substantial. Proposed new accessory dwelling on a parcel that is 187,263 square feet. Since the footprint of proposed structure is less than 1% of the total property, believe the variance is to be, is not substantial. Well, it's over 100%, okay? It was 800, you're looking for 945, so we're talking 130% variance. That's substantial. Okay. Will the proposed variance have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? And you have, based on the proximity of the proposed structure to the street over 300 feet and adjacent parcels, nor that we do not believe the property new structure will be an adverse impact to the neighborhood and property owners. You're probably right on that one. The only thing is that in that area, I don't know of any house that has 2 homes on one building lot. This would be the only one, is what I'm trying to say.
And Bob, I think that reasoning applies to the first factor as well.
Right.
Right.
You're
So,
correct.
again, in the neighborhood with the large lot zoning, we're putting 2 on an already small lot.
Right. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? You have to know that the pre-existing non-conforming lot size is not self-created. It is self-created, okay? Because when you bought the property, a gentleman bought the property, he bought it as 2 separate building lots, 2 2-acre lots. At that point in time, you could have easily put a house on each one. Wouldn't even be talking about accessory apartments. He could have put a house. That was his option. He chose not to do that. He chose to put the property together in 4.7, which is fine. That's his option. But now you want to put 2 houses on it. You want to put a house on a lot that was legal before, but it's not legal now. So that's the only reason I'm saying so. And I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this. Mary Kay?
I vote to deny the application.
Vinnie?
Based on the 5 factors, I vote to deny.
I vote to approve based on the factors.
Okay, and I vote to deny. So that's 3 to 1, so the variance is denied. But that doesn't stop you from coming back here with a smaller unit,
Understood.
okay? That's all I can tell you. Because, you know, it's 800, like I said, and 120, 130% more is too much for the board.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
close the,
Any new business, any old business? New business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.